Today I'm here at Radio 2 at Leipzig House to interview, a quick interview with Jeremy Vine, the TV and radio presenter and also Street Come Dancing. Jeremy, first of all, thank you very much for your time. I know you're really busy with Strictly Come Dancing, so thank you very much. But you've been cycling for about 4 years now, to and from into central London to the office. 8 cyclists have died on London's roads this year, and 6 of the fatalities have been involving collision with a lorry or lorries. How do you think we can improve the cycle safety in London and other large cities in the UK?
Well, it's even more specific than that. We find, if we look at the figures, that the people are disproportionately affected if they're young women turning left and it's a tipper truck. So there's something going on that's very specific to females cycling and trucks turning left. So that's a particular area to focus on. But I think more broadly there are 2 choices for people. They either are of the mindset that you need to change the road structure, or they're of the mindset that you need to change the mind of the car driver. And I am maybe an idealist or whatever, I may be completely unrealistic, but for me I want to change the mind of the driver, because I think changing the roads is going to take 100 years, but the driver's mind can be changed quite quickly, and there are a couple of ways of doing it. I think firstly that enforcement works. I think cameras and all of that stuff will convince them that if they cut up a cyclist or cause danger, they could end up with a fine. And secondly, I think rather like the drunk driving adverts, it's just an attitude change that gradually we could move towards, where I saw a cyclist the other day and he had a high-vis bib and it just said "your grandfather" on the back. And I thought, yeah, let's try and convince drivers that cyclists are their daughter, their grandfather, their friend. Yeah. And that might help as well.
I agree. And in Holland, if you hit a cyclist, you've got to prove yourself innocent as a driver, that it wasn't your fault. And maybe there needs to be a change in the UK, the way the police deal with accidents and incidents like that. But according to the Telegraph as well, there was 3,400 people who were seriously injured, which is a jump of 8.2%. And going back onto that, how do you think motorists and cyclists can share the road better? Because it is a mindset, because when we've been looking at Facebook pages, and there's a real massive divide. Motorists, it's very emotive against the cyclists, and the cyclists against the motorists, and there's people in between, obviously, but it's a very emotive subject. And how do you think we can share the road better? Is it just that mindset change? Do you think it's just the education to cyclists and to motorists, or both, or to the motorists? What do you think?
I think just giving cyclists space will be a start. I'm amazed when I cycle that a lot of drivers, particularly professional drivers, if you drive a cab around all day, you can make judgments that are millimeters wide. But that's fine until my bike gets hit by a gust of wind. It's not very safe then. And I'm amazed just how close cars go to my bike. And I remember when I was growing up in the 70s, that when drivers went past bicycles, they gave them an enormously wide berth. But I think at the moment, and this is where I would actually have some sympathy with the drivers, I think that there is a change underway whereby our major cities, London in particular, are getting cycling growth just escalating. So drivers aren't ready for the kind of road decisions that they have to make now. So the classic being, you're driving down Tottenham Court Road, it's 3 lanes, and you've got 2 cyclists in your lane, and you're going to get past them without changing lanes. Now that's dangerous. You're going to need to actually, signal and move into the middle lane to go past them. And people just aren't ready at the moment for the sheer number of cyclists, and it's going to double and double again. I promise, there's no question of that. And I was in a cab just a few days ago, and the driver said they're like flies, they're like mosquitoes, all these cyclists. And I didn't say, well, I'm one myself, but increasingly, people, I think, will find that they're actually talking to a cyclist when they make comments like that. So I think it's a change in driver behaviour that's needed. We definitely need cyclists to be courteous as well, and to be a bit less aggressive, and to not go through red lights. That's very, very important. And to not threaten pedestrians either, because pedestrians then get in a car and behave badly to cyclists. So there's all kinds of, there's a relationship there which has got 2 sides to it, like all relationships. And and the cyclists need to think about it as well.
And 18 months ago, you were knocked off your bike, I read. You were recently speaking at an event and said that cameras were the way to go. What response have you had from the police and the videos that you've sent in? And would you encourage others to do so against dangerous drivers?
I wear cameras front and back on my bike. I've got absolutely no doubt that all cyclists should do that. If you're making a regular journey, I go 6.5 miles into the office here and 6.5 miles home, so that's 13 miles a day. Good week I do 5 days, so that's what, 70 miles. So most days I come back and I just wipe the camera, I don't even look at it, nothing happened. But when it does, I find the police are very responsive. Now this may be a Metropolitan Police thing in London, but I've on 3 or 4 occasions have sent them film, and it's ended up with the driver going on an awareness course or a fine, you know. And so the people who process it are actually really happy to get the material. I mean, I'm surprised. I thought that they would regard me as giving them work to do that they don't want to do. It's not like that at all. I rang up the woman who's been in touch with me from the police about the cases that I've sent her, and I said, I just want to check this is all right for me to send you this stuff. You know, like for example, the other week I was cycling and a cab driver just pulled straight out. He saw me, but he just thought, oh, if he pulls out, I'm going to brake. So I filmed him, and I filmed his number plate, and I sent it in, and he's been done, and he has to take a day off work and go on a speeding awareness course and all that stuff. So, and I said to the Metropolitan Police woman, are you sure this is okay? And she said, no, keep sending them in and we'll bust them all. And there's a guy who came into my studio on Radio 2 the other day who's had 85 prosecutions as a result of film on his bike. So it's an unfortunate thing to say, and it's not a war with motorists or anything like that, but the fact is enforcement does change behaviour. And this is law breaking, and there needs to be enforcement. And we now realise that each cyclist can be a camera, and that's a very powerful thing.
And we always hear the bad news and experiences that happen on the road. I mean, I ride to work like yourself, although I'm a mile in country roads, so I don't have a lot. I've got pheasants to worry about.
That may be more dangerous.
But what would you do? What would you say to encourage people to follow suit, to get on their bike? Because there's some massive benefits. I love it.
I mean, I always say to people, you either live 10 years longer or you die 20 years sooner. I mean, that is the choice. But that makes it sound more dangerous than it is, because the chance of death is very, very low. I mean, we've talked about the tragedy of 8 or 9 fatalities, but that's in a huge city. And I'm always amazed when I saw a senior police officer the other day saying he wouldn't cycle in London because it's too dangerous. And yes, I have been knocked off my bike, but I was not hurt when that happened. So I think that the biggest risk to us is obesity and cardiovascular disease and not being fit. And I joined a gym because the way you get fit in the city is you join a gym. I never went. I was paying £80 a month to use their jacuzzi once, because I would go in there and just use it and then go home. And I discovered the jacuzzi didn't get me fit. So £500, bicycle, cycle every day. Incredible improvement. You know, even allows you to dance, albeit not that well. Not that well. So I just think the fitness thing is one thing. There's an amazing sense. I leave Chiswick in the morning and I'm going to pedal 6.5 miles to work. I actually am excited. I love the experience. It's like flying. If you've driven all your life, you can't believe how easily you can move around with a bicycle. And it's a fantastic way to see the city you're in. It's just wonderful if you're in a city. So I can't praise it enough. I mean, I would now rather cycle than drive in London. I think it's quicker, apart from anything else. I mean, it's always bizarre when you're cycling and there's a motorist behind you who's angry because you're in the middle of the lane or whatever, and they start revving and hooting. And you guarantee they're going to overtake you, and then they're stuck 100 yards later, and you go past them, and you're just way quicker. So it's a great way to travel. It's a great way to keep fit, and it's just a fun way to see wherever you live.
What advice would you say to someone who's thinking of cycling to work, or in pleasure, to get out? What one bit of advice in the city, in London, what would you say to them?
I would say you do have to be careful. You need to be confident about the fact that you have every right to be on the road. You're not going to cycle in the gutter. Read up a little bit about some of the safety advice. But crucially, you do want to force other people to pay attention to you. And if that means you have to go in the centre of your lane because there's a parked car or whatever, do it. Watch out for people opening their doors. Don't go across red lights. don't do anything that threatens the safety of pedestrians. That's very, very important. And I'm not totally advocating wearing a helmet, funny enough. I think a camera is safer than a helmet, actually. And the other great thing is you can get lights that are really bright now, and get one of them. That's about it, and just enjoy it.
That's great. Well, I do have one final, I was going to say, finally, Strictly Come Dancing. Has your dancing benefited from your cycling? But I saw you sort of answered in between.
No, I can't. I mean, in terms of cardiovascular, definitely, because the dancer that I'm with, Karen, who's undoubtedly one of the greatest Latin dancers in the world, said, for a 50-year-old man, you're very fit. And I said, yeah, I cycle everywhere, you know. And she buys that. And London is flat as well, so you can actually get around, you know, most of it really easily. But it is different muscles. That's the one thing. It's different bits of the body. So there are dancing bits that the cycling hasn't touched yet.
Well, look, we think you're awesome. You're doing really well.
Thank you so much.
So good luck for the rest of the show, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.